Hey, how you doing? My name is Brian Scott from the YouTube channel First Generation Doctors.
I got one thing right. You saw it through my pain, kept us patient while I changed. Never even crossed your mind to walk away. When I was getting crazy, reckless and wild, acting like my mama's little devilish child.
I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, and I moved here to Orlando when I was 8 years old. When we moved to Orlando, I didn't live in a community where education was encouraged. I went to elementary school and the middle school where I basically had to learn how to defend myself. That was the primary thing at the time. You know, it was one of those situations where you couldn't just stay out the way. You know, if you stayed out the way, it was likely that you would be bullied. And I'll just give you all a story. You know, when I was in middle school, you know, I tried to be that person to stay out the way and just focus on what I needed to. And there were these two guys, you know, they just felt the need to pick on me for whatever reason. And one day walking home, I saw one of them. And he saw me, and him and his little entourage, you know, they decided to try to pick a fight with me. For many moments, I tried to avoid it, but at one point I realized that I had to defend myself. And I ended up fighting the guy, and eventually, from that point forward, he never bothered me anymore. What that lesson taught me is that, you know, you could sit around and allow life or people to pick on you and beat you up, but the time, at the moment that you determine to defend yourself and fight back, you know, it will prove that there are good benefits to that, you know, and that's a lesson that I use in life today. You know, I'm just not gonna give up, and I'm just not gonna back down from a challenge or an obstacle that comes my way. I'm gonna fight back and give it my very best and hope that something good comes of it. So after living in Orlando for a certain amount of years, my family and I, we moved west of Orlando to the suburbs, and things were a lot better there. I didn't have to look over my shoulder, and I didn't have to be on the defense most of the time. I had an opportunity at that point to really focus on what I really needed to. You know, I was a pretty decent student. I wasn't the best and I wasn't the worst. At that point, I was really focused on athletics and school. Everything was good up until my sophomore year, when a tragic incident happened in my life. I lost my older brother. His death changed the trajectory of my life. I really didn't have any purpose at that point, and there was so much going through my mind, and I really tried to cover that pain with so many different things. Let's talk about fornication, drugs, alcohol, and many other things, you know, just trying to party or whatever, just try to party the pain away. But what God really showed me in that moment, well, many years later, is that sometimes He will remove certain things or people from your life in order for you to put your focus on Him. Now, by no means am I saying that's the primary reason my brother passed away, you know, but that was one of the reasons that I realized why he had to be removed from my life, so I could put my focus on God. And I'll give you a story from the Bible. In the book of Isaiah, Isaiah is a prophet. When he was very young, there was a king that ruled in Jerusalem for about 52 years. As a child, for Isaiah, you know, looking up to this king as this idol, basically somebody that he aspires to be. In Isaiah 6:1, I'll read it for you. In Isaiah 6:1, it says, "It was in the year King Uzziah died that I saw the Lord." And that the rest of that chapter goes on and talking about Isaiah's encounter with God and him describing how glorious it was to see what God looked like. So my point in sharing that story was that God removed Uzziah out of Isaiah's life, and he was able to really see what God is capable of and what He really is, and seeing God for who He really is. In the same way, once my brother was removed from my life, I didn't have that person that I was looking to. He played that father figure for me, and he played that model of what a man was supposed to be in my life. And once that was removed, I had to seek God to figure out my way through life. So that was definitely a lesson for me in that moment. But that definitely was a tragic circumstance in my life, and it affected my academics pretty much throughout my whole high school career. As junior year rolled around, I lost a friend the same way. Someone took his life, and just that didn't have the impact that my brother's death had on my life. But I will say it definitely did have an impact. And just having to overcome those traumas in high school, it played a significant effect on my academic career, and I just didn't really have a desire to do well in school at all. As senior year rolled around, my cousin, she asked me what I wanted to do in life, and I told her, I don't know. So what she did, she got me a careers book from the library, and I started to look through that book, and I came across the word anesthesiologist, and at the time I didn't know what it meant. So I looked it up, I researched it, see what it took to get to that point and what the job description was. And for some odd reason, I felt like I could do that. At that point, I didn't have, even to this day, I don't have anybody in my family that is a doctor or a nurse or anyone in the healthcare field. So me believing that I could do something so big and not being exposed to it at all and not being encouraged by anybody to go in that direction, that basically let me know that was a vision from God and God telling me to go in that direction. But it was easy to have that vision, but it wasn't easy to pursue the dream. At the end of senior year, I didn't graduate high school. There's a standardized test that you have to take in Florida in order to graduate. It's called the FCAT. And I failed the math portion of the test. So when graduation came around, they gave me a certificate of completion and say, good job, you finished 12 years of school. But that certificate doesn't do anything. You can't get a job with it or anything, So I had to take the ACT and do well enough in the math portion of the ACT in order to get my high school diploma. I had to take the ACT 3 times in order to get the score that I needed. That's how poor of a student that I was. But I had the determination and I had the drive to keep going. One thing that my brother always told me, he was like, little bro, don't be a coulda been. And basically what he meant by that, if you're a female, you go into the hair salon and get your hair done, or if you're a guy, you go into the barbershop, getting your hair cut. You notice that a lot of people, they just have a lot of conversations about nothing, right? And most of the time you hear them bring up somebody that they knew or a mutual friend of theirs and say, you know what, so-and-so could have been this excellent person, but they got involved with this crowd. So-and-so could have been a stellar athlete, but they got arrested. Those people had the potential to be something great. They could have been great, but for some odd reason, they encountered some circumstances that derailed them off their path. And basically what he was telling me was, don't allow certain life circumstances to stop you from being great. So I took the ACT 3 times. I got the score I needed, and I decided to start college. I started school at Tallahassee Community College in Tallahassee, Florida. And that first year when I started, I wasn't where I needed to be on the college level. So I had to take multiple prep courses in order to get me to that point. So that first year was basically no college credit at all. So I did what I needed to do to get myself to the college level, and I graduated with my associate's degree from Tallahassee Community College. While I was at Tallahassee Community College, I had a desire to play football again. So I had two options, either to walk on to Florida State University's football team and try to earn a scholarship, or I could go the junior college route and try to earn a scholarship that way. So what I decided to do, I decided to go to the junior college route. I went to Los Angeles Valley College for one semester, for that fall semester, played throughout the football season, did well in my classes. I started to become a better student at that point, and I was able to get a scholarship to Alderson Broaddus University in Philippi, West Virginia. Once I got to Philippi, West Virginia at AB, a lot of things changed for me. I started to focus more on God and started to dedicate my life to Him. I learned a lot while I was at that institution. I got involved in multiple sports, football and track. I was also a part of SGA. I was a resident assistant. I got involved in so many different things, primarily because I thought it would help me on this medical school journey. I thought these schools would take into consideration how many activities I'm involved with, and then look at my grades and think that I'm just this well-rounded person. But I think that's a misconception that us pre-meds have at times. So by the time graduation rolled around at Aldous and Broadus, I started to realize that I wasn't prepared for medical school the way that I thought I would have been. I decided to go to a post-bac program, a program that would prepare me to get into medical school. And this was at the University of Vermont. I went there for a year, but it started to get expensive for me. But one good thing that I can say I got from the program is just my knowledge of what it really takes to get into medical school. You know, I lived with 3 medical students at the time, and my advisor, she was very knowledgeable on the process, and she taught me a lot. So once I left the program because it got too expensive, I came back home with that knowledge and tried to apply it myself and try to get into medical school on my own. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. I came home, I took some additional classes, tried to strengthen my GPA. I got research experience, patient care experience, volunteering experience, shadowing experience, all those things to strengthen my application. So fortunately for me, when I moved back home, I was able to get a volunteering position at a clinic called Shepherd's Hope. I started out as a eligibility specialist, basically determining if these patients are financially eligible to be seen at the clinic. And just to give y'all an understanding of what this clinic is, it offers free health care to the uninsured in Central Florida. So I volunteered for about 1.5 years as an eligibility specialist, but they always knew that I had a desire to do medical scribing. And that's where you walk around with this physician and type up their notes and order any labs or medications that they want for the patient. You know, so after 1.5 years as an eligibility specialist, I had an opportunity to volunteer as a medical scribe. And I volunteered there for about 3 years. Every week, sometimes 2-3 times a week, before I was able to find a real job that I really enjoyed in the healthcare field. When I came home, that was what I was looking for initially, to work in a hospital or do anything like that. I even went as far as to get a phlebotomy certification, that way I could get that experience. But they didn't tell you that once you get the certification, you need experience to get these positions, and so I had a certification, but I applied to these jobs. They saying, oh, you need experience. But how am I supposed to get experience if I just got the certification? But I had to volunteer 3 years before I was able to get a job as a medical assistant. And fortunately for me, that experience, that volunteer experience, is what got me that job as a medical assistant. So don't think it's a bad thing when you got to put in work for free in order to get something that you want later on. Some people, they expect to just jump into it, making money right away. But you got to put in the work, you got to put in the hard work. That way opportunities could open up for you down the road. It's just look at it as a cultivating process. Learn what you need to learn. That way you can excel once that door opens for you. And I applied to medical school in 2018. It didn't work out for me. So during the medical school cycle, what I decided to do was to apply to some master's programs, and I was fortunate to get into the University of South Florida, which basically gives me an opportunity to take classes, some of the same classes that first year medical students take, and prove myself. And if I do well in the program, I could get another shot at getting into medical school. There's a quote that I heard while doing a Bible study that relates to God removing people from our lives in order for us to put our focus on what's most important, and that's Him. And the quote goes something like this: "At no time is our vision more capable of seeing God in His rightful place than when the focus of our attention is removed." Hey, Casey.
My brother, what's up, my man?
Chilling, man, chilling. Yeah, so I'm doing the documentary right now, man. And basically what I wanted to ask you, is the transition that you see me make. You one of the only people that I still talk to and vibe with on a regular basis from high school, bro. So I felt you are one of the best people to come to, to basically give an insight on my transition from high school to where I am today. So just give your thoughts on that, honest opinion, nothing scripted or anything, so this definitely be on the documentary. So just talk to the people.
For sure. Yeah, man, me Me and that guy we definitely good friends, and I seen A-Town come from a mighty long ways, man. The guy, one thing I could say about him, for all this time, he always had a stick-to-itiveness about him, which is definitely what got him this far. But from coming from high school, he got into a little bit of things that he maybe wasn't supposed to, and then a time came, after high school, with, some things came up, and it decided him to maybe rethink things in life about, which way he should really turn. And me and the guy, got the opportunity to run back into each other after he left off after college, after he made a better decision. And one of the most life-changing things or experience I think he really had once he came back home, and he found out what Christ really was about.
Amen.
And he found out what tithes and paying tithes and offering and what that really meant.
Yeah, the credit go to you for that one.
And what that really meant to him. And as he went back to school, he began to sow, and it began to sow in his life, and that seed he sown began to grow in his life, and that stick-to-itiveness that he always had, which brought him to the young man that he is today, and striving for such great things.
I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you so much, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, man. All the good stuff, all the great conversation, all the positiveness. I know me and this guy can go a month or two without talking, but it's only because we grinding. And when we talk, we still on the same page.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, bro. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate your time, bro. I know you busy, and I wish I could have had you in person, but I know you building something that the world will see one day,
Yeah,
so
sure.
yeah, man, I appreciate your time, bro. I love you, bro.
I love you too, my brother.
All right, bro, take it easy.
Yes, sir.
So I just got off the phone with my friend, and you heard him talk about some of the things that I got involved in high school that wasn't beneficial to me at all. Like I told y'all, after losing my brother, it put me on a path that wasn't the best thing for me. Unfortunately, I was arrested multiple times in high school, 3 times to be exact, 2 of which could have been felony charges. And had those gone through, I wouldn't be on the path that I am right now. And that's why I give so much glory to God, But one time, me and a few friends, we were headed to the beach, and we got pulled over by the cops. We were in my car, and, they found marijuana in the car, and they found a gun in the car. They ended up taking me to jail that night, impounded my car. And by the looks of it, while I was in that cell, which was just for a few hours, while I was in that cell, I thought either I was gonna get a felony charge and get probation, or maybe even get some jail time, But fortunately for me, it didn't happen for me that way. And I'm definitely honoring God with my life now, and just thanking him for the opportunity that he gave me to make something of myself. A lot of people could vouch for me. Some of the people I used to hang with at high school now have felony charges, and in worst cases are dead, And for me to be in a position that I'm in today, I could only be grateful. Yes, it took a lot of work for me to get here. I understand that, but I'm definitely giving God all the glory, because in the times when I had no control of the outcome, he worked it out for me. And that's why I really want to use this channel, this YouTube channel that I have, to encourage people to overcome obstacles and strive for greatness. Whether you do want to be a doctor or not, whatever it is, I just want to inspire you to make the best of your life. The most we have is about 75 years on this earth. Some may live 5-10 years longer. Some may live significantly less. But that time that is allotted to you, I just want you to make the best of it. Just kind of went on a rant. At no time is our vision more capable of... Shoot! It's like I don't want to, no time is our vision more capable of seeing God in his rightful place than when the focus of our attention is being removed. It's being removed or is removed? Shoot. It is removed. It's being removed.
All right. So right now we're at the spot where my brother was murdered. You know, it's one of these.
There's a quote that I read one time in a Bible study that relates to God removing. All right, let me get this one. All right, take a break, man. All right, let me just get some water. You want some water, man? Something?
All right. So now we're at my old house.
At no time is our vision more capable of seeing God in his rightful place than when the focus of our attention is removed. Boom. Boom. Let's get it. All right. So
let's touch on
I've cheated and I've lied, I've broke down and I've cried. I've got nothing to hide no more. I've loved and I've hurt, I've broken people down with words. More grace than I deserve for sure. Known to be crazy, known to be